Welcome, true believers, to another episode of Stuck in the Web by the Beyonders. Today we'll be talking about the remaining Spider-Verse, or the Sony Spider-Verse, if you will, which includes Venom, Madam Web, Morbius, and Kraven the Hunter. Which, let's get on topic. Let's start with, who do you want to start with?
Well, I'm William. This is Richard. Let's start with the Venom movie since that came first.
Fantastic. Enough said. Go on. All right, now I'm done.
Venom, Tom Hardy, he plays a great one. He's miserable. But then he meets this alien who just pushes him around and makes him do things he really doesn't want to do, like eating human brains.
Which apparently has the same nutrients as chocolate.
And tater tots.
Yeah, that's weird.
Alien physiology, they're a weird bunch.
So, let me just say this about the Venom movies. Well, actually, let me just say about Venom. Venom is my all-time favorite Spider-Man character.
He's Spider-Man, but like the Hulk.
Yeah, true. But
Spider-Man on steroids.
The thing is about Venom that makes him so great. Well, let me just say this. Let me just go ahead and run it. First one was pretty okay. I think the problem with the first movie is it had pacing issues. It was just very slow. That's just what I'm going to say about that. Second one, story was not there. The second one's probably by far the worst Venom movie.
They Superman 2'd it where they had this great villain opportunity with Carnage, but then
nothing happened for most of the movie.
If you have Venom and Eddie separated and they're just like lovers quarrel or...
Exactly. Let me just say, and this might be unpopular, I don't care. Venom 3, Last Dance, by far the best Venom movie. Let me just say this why. It's goofy, it's silly. It doesn't feel like a Venom movie in any standards, but at the same time, it has the best pacing and best storytelling through the entire
time. Eddie finally accepted his role as a lethal protector.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say too much if our viewers haven't seen it, because it is pretty...
It just came out like last summer?
Yeah, or no,
October. It came out recently.
The last few months, and it just recently dropped on Blu-ray and DVD, so I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who's listening. So let me just say this: Venom 3, I say
give it a chance.
Give it a chance. And as of the Sony Spider-Verse, that's the best part. That's the best thing of it so far. So the second thing, let's go on to this. It's Morbin time with Morbius.
The living vampire. I can't say too much. I know he has his own comic, but his comic started and ended before I was even born.
Let me just say this. Morbius, as I understand, was always more interesting when he hung out with Blade.
I mean, he's technically not a vampire. He's got genetic... He's like Spider-Man, but it's vampire DNA instead of spider DNA.
Oh, goody. He sucked plasma in his hands.
No, that was only in that show because they thought biting was too violent in that 90s cartoon.
I don't care that.
But it was, though a lot of people said it's much more disturbing seeing those suction cups on his hands than anything.
But yeah, what is this? Who is Jared Leto who played Morbius?
Yep.
I kind of feel bad for Jared Leto.
He tried the Joker. He tried Morbius. He just cannot win.
He cannot win. He cannot win at all with
comic roles.
No, he cannot. And I feel bad for the dude. It's like he has, and as I understand, he has potential. And he keeps wanting to come back and do these films and say, I want to do it kind of like my way. I'm like, Jared Leto, I feel for you, but you're creators.
I think what really hurt Morbius that the villain they chose, I don't even know because it might be newer and I'm out of touch with the comics as well. It's like Morlin is another evil vampire.
They just threw in Dracula.
Yeah, they probably should have. But that's for Blade.
Or Moon Knight.
No, I'm going to give it to Blade because vampire, king of vampires.
I'm just saying Moon Knight had a lot of dealing with Dracula too.
Who doesn't anymore?
Yeah, sure. But yeah. In comparison, it's been out for a while. So the only thing that kind of throws me about Morbius is actually I'm going to go back and connect it to the Venom movie. The problem with the Venom movies, or at least Venom 2, is that it has the biggest FU to the viewers, is that it has a post-credit scene where he travels into the Tom Holland movie.
And we got nothing.
Yeah, in the Tom Holland movie, we never got to see anything. And guess what?
And then you go to the Tom Holland one, they show the post-credit where Eddie goes back.
I'm like, that is the biggest middle finger I've ever seen. Like, I wanted to see Venom fight Spider-Man.
Yeah. The fact that he sees the TV, licks it like Venom would do in the comics, is feels very right. It felt yes.
And here's my problem with it. Then, if you remember in the Tom Holland one, they said, oh, we fixed everything so everything's going back to his own universe. Then why did Vulture end up in...
apparently that was
this
because if you watch Across the Spider-Verse, they...
Oh, yeah, that's right, because this is
Tom
Holland's the reason why Miles is going through all these
because all those villains were being transported to the wrong universe.
Thanks, Tom Holland.
And Miguel points it out. Thanks to this guy.
Yeah, in fact, if we didn't have Tom Holland, it wouldn't be actually a sequel to Miles movie right now.
Well, they're trying to connect all their stuff. It's called the Spider-Verse for a reason.
True. But, it's like, I look forward to some of it. I kind of wish there was a Venom 4 coming. Let me just say this. Anyone who doesn't know, Tom Hardy already said he's not coming back for a fourth one, so that's a sad thing. So, there's still talking maybe of Venom 4, but he's not going to be with Tom Hardy.
Next was about Madam Web.
Madam Web was the worst.
That's the... I mean, she was never necessary as a hero, because every time I see her, she's this old lady stuck in a chair, and it's like, Spider-Man, you must do this. So I'm like...
You know what my real problem was? Is that I don't care that she can see the future, but then she had this astral projection. I'm like, okay, she has astral projection in the movie that she finally learned. You know what the real issue is? Like, that doesn't allow you to be in 4 places at the same time, like, somehow. Like,
yeah, I
don't understand how her powers work in that.
Basically, they were rewriting the character's abilities just so it could suit it, even though instead of a Madam Web, they should have probably stick with which I guess is canceled now, Black and Silver, where they were going to have a Black Cat and Silver
Madam
Sable.
Web sucks Spider Eggs, that's all I'm going to say.
All right. Keep it clean.
Clean.
But Black Cat and Silver Sable, they were going to have a team-up movie. That probably would have been a lot easier to write for a full female heroine story than Madam Web, which
is the funny thing is you had 4 different Spider-Women if you include Madam Web, and it's still flopped.
Because they didn't have a good villain. They were doing...
Who's the villain?
Another therapy Spider-Man. That basically, if you ever seen Across the Spider-Verse, you see Spider-Man in the chair doing therapy. That's actually the character who it is. I forget his name. But that's literally it's Spider-Man it's like a universe of Spider-Man who became a therapist.
True. Then,
Craven, haven't seen it yet. Still out in theaters as far as I know.
Yeah, by the time this is seen.
But, I mean,
it's the guy who plays Quicksilver.
Aaron Taylor, that's the one who played Quicksilver. It's like, no, he doesn't even have a Russian accent. He's like, I'm Craven. Russell Crowe does the better Craven accent.
You look at the trailers. You look at the trailers with it. It's like first off, super buff. What's with the buff line on steroids?
They're trying to do genetic experiments.
Is that what they're trying to do?
That's what they're always doing. They're making the simplest thing. Instead, it's like, oh, took this from like a witch doctor's formula to give me magical enhanced strength.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is Craven. It would have been much easier just to, make Wakanda exist, and they say they still, because let's face facts in the comics, is that Wakanda keeps having vibranium stolen by Claw. Why not have someone steal the same plant from Wakanda that gave Black Panther? Because it's basically equivalent to the same powers.
I'm honestly convinced that's what Stark used to make the super soldier serum for Cap.
Actually, that would be very believable since Howard and
T'Challa's father.
Yeah, we're actually kind of good friends in that, right?
Right. He gave him vibranium to make the shield.
True. But, yeah, it's just... I don't know. Craven's just like a wannabe Black Panther. That's what he is. I mean, he has a cool aesthetic a little bit, but...
The world's greatest hunter.
But I think most of it comes down to is Sony, at least...
Sony needs to play ball. They need to stop making these characters into their own thing and just bring them all into one cool Spider-Man movie universe.
It's not even that. The problem is that Sony only got the collective license agreement to do Spider-Man things, and the problem with
so they're trying to do stuff on their own instead of just playing ball and just let it be in one whole universe.
The problem with it is that they can only do so many times. Like, how many times can we do Spider-Man before let's dig into his villains and make the villains into anti-heroes, and
instead of just making them what they are, villains.
Right, and the problem is,
and I don't know why
Venom it worked because he eventually became a good guy. Madam Web kind of worked, but she's just such a boring character. Morbius kind of works too, but
because again, he's an anti-hero.
Yeah,
Craven, no, he's, as far as I know, he's always just straight up villain.
I don't
think.
And my whole thing is, if they were going to do, and the whole thing is with Vulture ended up in the end of Morbius. It was clear they're trying to do a connected universe where they were trying to lead into the Sinister Six.
Well, because Sony was trying to do that since Spider-Man 2, where you see the credits where they're showing all the villains' tech, even the wings. They were playing a standalone Sinister Six film back with Garfield, and it was supposed to be like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but my thing is, like, first off, you had Morbius, you had Venom, who are already man-eating monster heroes, basically. It's like you would have been better off just taking Vulture from the noir universe, and which was a cannibal in that one, and just that. But you know,
it is what it is.
I think to wrap it up is to say, as of the things without Spider-Man, Venom was the best. I'm gonna miss Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, and I hope they do something more with him, because Venom 3, fantastic movie. That's all I'm gonna say. Enough said.
Yeah.
All right, so that concludes our web series of Stuck in the Web, and that concludes the entire Sony Spider-Verse stuff.
There's many things we wish we could have talked about. Not enough time, unfortunately.
Yeah, we could have dug more into the comics, which that's a whole nother can.
The history, the myth, the lore.
Yeah, exactly. But I think to wrap it up with, to end this series, is that the Spider-Verse will always be strong, and there's always something out there for someone to watch. There's always something there to inspire people. Whether you're someone who's more dark and edgy like Venom, lighthearted like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, or if you're just some random kid like Miles Morales. You don't have to be anything special. There's something there for everybody.
The good is in all of us.
Enough said.